And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I promised this review in May, and if all things go considered, I will have done it by the deadline, barely. But today we're going to be taking a look at Android Netrunner, which came out last year at Gen Con 2012 and was a reprinting of a game called Netrunner, just set in Fantasy Flight's Android universe. Now, Netrunner is a game that was designed by Richard Garfield, much more known for his Magic the Gathering fame, but this was a very different deck builder that he designed, collectible card game, and it was published by Wizards of the Coast, and never did meet the same success as Magic, although it certainly had its fans, one of at least, who pushed this off on me and wanted me to play this and review it, and I said I would get around to it, and then I opened the rule book and it was just a, wow. And I was never really that interested because of the collectible card game nature. Now, at Gen Con 2012, I saw people going nuts for these, buying them. This sold out, way exceeding Fantasy Flight's expectations, and still is doing well all over the place. It is now being released in a LCG, a living card game, in which it means that when you buy the packs of this card game, which I believe come out once a month or so, you get all the cards. There's no rares, there's no commons or uncommons, so you can buy multiples of the packs if you want, or just one, and mix them up with your decks. Now, Android Netrunner, for those of you who've never played it, is a game in which takes place in some futuristic society where one person is running an evil corporation. Well, I suppose they don't necessarily have to be evil, but it's kind of implied that they are. The other person is playing the Netrunner, or as we call them today, a hacker, who is going into the computer networks and I don't really understand all the mumbo jumbo, but basically going in and fighting against the corporation. So, what I am not going to do in this review is explain how to play the game. I mean, there already is a really good video from Fantasy Flight Games that it's a very well produced video that explains how to play it better than I could do. So, I mean, if you want to see that, just click on that link and watch that video. It's very well done and certainly helped me in learning the game. First of all, we'll talk about the rulebook. This is the rulebook from the original game, which has over 50 pages and pictures and things. But I'm telling you, when I read it, the terminology and the futuristic society that it showed was a little over my head. The new Netrunner book is most certainly a Fantasy Flight large style book. But one of the things that really threw me off about this game was just all the different terminology of the things in the game. For example, you can see here that the different sides, okay, this is a corporation player. This is the headquarters, which is the name of the hand. While here, the remote servers are on here, but then your art, research, and development is the name of your deck, and the archives are the name of the cards that you've discarded. While over here in the runner area, you can see that their deck is called the stack, their hand is called the grip, and they have the heap as their discard pile. That can get a little confusing, and honestly, if it wasn't for the rules video, I think it would have taken me longer to play the game. I went through these rules and I said, I think I know what's going on, but watching that video helped out tremendously. See, let's get something out of the way right now. I honestly am predisposed to dislike Netrunner, if only because it seemed like the people who liked it were almost irrational in their liking. My thoughts were, if the game wasn't that popular when it first came out, and yes, I know the fans told me everyone loved it, but obviously everybody did it, then why would it be so popular now? And when I read through all these terms and everything, I said, oh my, all these terms, just call it the draw pile, for crying out loud. And then when I took a look at the artwork of the game, the original game, the layout of the cards and the artwork had this just really weird style. I mean, I'm sitting around playing this game and like, what am I playing? This is just so off the wall. The Fantasy Flight cards, on the other hand, have a much better look to them. I mean, it's obviously a Fantasy Flight game, but setting it in the Android universe, which is already a universe that I really did enjoy, and there's a little Harry Potter. But, you know, having these artworks and the cards, putting it to this theme really helped me get over a stumbling block of the original game, which just looked really dorky. The next hurdle for me with the game is the fact that it was a collectible card game. Now, don't get me wrong, I very much liked Magic the Gathering. I liked Star Wars, the Decipher version. I enjoyed Overpower. I played other collectible card games. But to me, that's kind of a dead genre now because I don't want to have to go around and collect cards and have rare cards and play against somebody else who has built a better deck than me. I'd rather just put two equal decks together and do that. Now, you can do that with this Netrunner game. It comes with 3 different runners and 4 different corporations, which I believe gives us 12 different matchups that you can play with the game. You then can build your deck, and they have rules for building a deck out of the different cards in this set and with the ones that come, but you could, like I said, play 12 different games. Are these decks evenly matched up? Well, you know, I'm not good enough at Netrunner to tell you on that, but I will say that the living card game model is one that's more enjoyable by me because it just seems more balanced from the get-go rather than me having to hunt down the cards to make my deck worthwhile. At this point, I mean, I really have been kind of non-committal as to where I am over Netrunner because I really wanted to be sure on this one. Like I said, I was predisposed. The theme was kind of there, the whole collectible card, you know, playing cards, the rule book and all that. But I said, all right, we're going to do this, and I played a match of it after watching everything. And I'll tell you, watching the Fantasy Flight video got me very excited about it. Then I played another match, and then another, and then another. Because I really like it. It's a really fun game. Now, let me tell you why I like it. And, well, first of all, the number one thing I like about Android Netrunner is the fact that it's asymmetrical. Playing the corporation and playing the runner is 2 very different experiences. And thus far, and I played both. In fact, I played every faction and every runner. I played both, and I much rather be the corporation. I don't know what it is. I kind of like to be the guy who's bluffing the runner out and trying to set traps for the runner. You know, why don't you come over here and check out this agenda? Or do I have the best cards in my hand or not? Or did I just put an agenda on the top of my deck? And what ice do I have laid out? I really like that feeling. Now, that's not to say I don't like being the runner. I do. Being the runner feels very action-oriented. You're like, all right, I'm going to make a run over here. I'm going to make a run over here. And you feel like you're always doing stuff while the corporation's like, bring it. Come on. Come fight me. And that's to me is such a neat concept of the game. It's such a cool thing to see the way the different corporations feel. I mean, the one corporation feels wealthy. The other corporation is out there hunting down the runners. And even the runners have very different feels to them. Now, before we go any further here, it must be clear that I am by no means considering myself an expert on this game. I would probably be demolished by any expert at the game. And so as much as I like the asymmetrical nature and I like how these things are cool, I guess if there is one downside to the game is that I'm actually afraid to play several people because they take it very seriously, they know every single combination, and I'm pretty sure that they would destroy me. But with that being set aside, I was still very impressed with just how, once you know what you're doing, the concepts are fairly simple, but there's different ways to do things. And I felt like on each of my turns, I really had a decent amount of options that I could handle. I was a little concerned when I first played. I said, oh, it's the draw 1 card thing that Magic has, and what you can actually draw more cards if you want, but you know, really, it's that deck building, you're kind of constrained by the cards in your deck, and if you don't draw what you want. But I found myself saying, wow, this is what I drew, how am I going to work with it? Rather than, bad draw, I'm not going to do well. And I thought that was a neat aspect. Now, lest it all seem like roses here, I do wish that the game was a little easier to get into. A lot of people who have played the game are people who played the game originally, and so they just jumped right in and saw the rule changes, and I honestly can't tell you the main differences between the thing. Look to other reviews for that. This game, though, is going to have you look for the first plays. I mean, I am still looking at the rule books, and there are still things I'm not sure exactly how every little combination works, and these combinations and things come up often over the course of the game. This is kind of par for the course in any card game like this, because there's just so many different variations, and I'm telling you, it still drives me nuts that they have to call everything by such a weird name. Sure, I can get used to ice, and I can get used to res, but when you say put the cards in your headquarters, I'm like, okay, headquarters is which one again? You know, that's good for the theme, and I'm a guy who loves theme and such, but it will take a bit to get into this game. But I think because of that, it offers a fairly deep and rewarding experience. And here's the deal, I'm annoyed right now, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look on these shelves around me, and if you've been following my Twitter feed, I just cut my game collection down to 300 games, which is, I know, a huge amount for most of you. But when you cut it down from 1,400 games, getting down to 300 games is a pretty big deal. And so many of the games I have on my shelf are there after a hard-fought battle because they are much better than other games. I play Netrunner, I got it, I said I'm going to play it, I'll get rid of it. I'm sure there'll be people, but I'm not going to get rid of it because what I want to do is I want to play it more and I want to build decks. I know I said I wasn't going to build decks. You know, I played the Star Wars LCG and I said, oh, you know, I can mess around with decks, but it's not a big deal. This, I want to go out and buy every expansion for it right now and just sit around and build decks. That's how pumped I am about this. And Fantasy Flight, stop stealing my money. But I'm excited about this. I gotta find a place to put it on my shelf now because I think I'm gonna keep it for a while. I wonder in a year, and I'll try to revisit this in a year or so, come back after I played it with expansions. I wonder how I'll still feel about it, but right now I'll say this. It's a great game. Alright? For all those people out there who tried to get me to play it for many years and I kind of just ignored you, I apologize. It's very well done, and Fantasy Flight put it in a package. I'm not saying this is the greatest game ever designed. In fact, I'm not even sure it's the best collectible game ever designed. But wow, very impressed. I love the wide array of options. I love the different feels of the corporations and runners. I love the asymmetrical nature of it. I like the theme. I like the artwork. I like the length of the games, which are 20, 30-minute games. Maybe I'm just really bad, and that's why they end that way. But it is a very impressive work, so I'm giving this one a very high recommendation, Android Netrunner.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!